South Carolina having exams this week, so no midweek game for the Gamecocks. They'll host a very good Kentucky team this weekend. Gives us a chance to welcome back into Sports Talk for a few minutes Gamecock head coach Mark Kingston, coming off the practice field this afternoon. And, Coach, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How you doing?
We're terrific. Thank you for joining us. How has practice gone this week with your guys? Have you had a chance to work a good bit, or have you had to deal with the exam schedule and let the guys kind of deal with that first and foremost?
Well, the good thing is, practice-wise, we'll take up probably 3 hours of their day, so that gives them 21 other hours to get ready for their exams and prepare. So what we did after playing the doubleheader on Saturday, we gave them all of Sunday off. We gave them off from baseball on Monday and just lifted weights, and then had a good practice yesterday, and then today had a practice that simulated a game day where we took batting practice, took our pregame infield work and outfield work, and then played a sim game off a machine where we put lineups out there on the field. We looked at guys at different positions and just gave them a chance to kind of play baseball, almost like you'd see a basketball team go play open gym, just to get those guys moving around and playing the game again.
What'd you think? What'd you think of what you saw from your guys?
Yeah, they're ready to go. I think the 2 days off were very beneficial for them. Ron Frazier, you guys may know the name Ron Frazier, known as the Wizard of college baseball, University of Miami. Kind of him and Skip Bertman and those guys were kind of the grandfathers of modern day college baseball, and very wise man. And one thing Ron Frazier used to tell us when I was at Miami way back when was, anytime you get a chance to give your guys not just one day off, but two, especially in the second half of the season, that it'll really pay dividends in terms of the energy and the strength it brings back to them. So I'm hoping that's the case, that we gave them basically the 2 days off, and I thought we had really good workouts the last 2 days.
What's the status with Roman Kimball?
Roman will toe the rubber on Friday night and hopefully give us a great outing.
So the thumb injury, whatever it was he was dealing with the other night, A-OK, ready to go?
Correct. Yeah, it was a very fluky thing. It's not anything he had really ever dealt with, and I certainly haven't ever seen a pitcher have to come out of a game for a thumb issue. But here we are, and it happened. So he's been fine this week. His bullpens have been good, so he'll be ready to go.
That's certainly good news for your rotation. So you're going to go. Will you go similarly with what you did last weekend? Kimball on Friday, Jones on Saturday, TBA on Sunday?
I think officially we're going to name it as Kimball, Jones, TBA, just to keep it consistent with what we did last week, just in case we want to use a Dylan SQ to win a game on Friday or Saturday. It allows us that flexibility. But I think you'll see something probably pretty similar to last week.
So this week, analyzing your team, I mean, I know the one thing that the fans look at, the media looks at with your team, and why you are where you are is hitting with runners in scoring position. I know this has been kind of a season-long thing. You've been asked about it. You've talked about it. This week, have you dived any more deeply into that? Have you had conversations with players? Is there anything you can do to kind of address that?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's the difference between us being 27-13, and in my mind, we could be 35-5 very easily if we just got runners in when the opportunities are there. And statistically, the guys that aren't quite getting it done this year were great in that department last year. And so that's where a little bit of the frustration comes from, is the guys that were great last year with runners in scoring position just haven't quite repeated that yet this year. But as from a coaching standpoint, we're just continuing to try to keep them positive, keep them confident. We've continued to talk about, the things that help you to drive runs in are short, quick swings, not trying to do too much. I think we've had guys that try to do too much, and then you end up getting yourself out with longer swings. So I still think it's something that we can get corrected for the stretch run, and if we do, then I mean we're really good, because even with as poor as we've done with runners in scoring position, our RPI is still 12. Our DSR, which is a new ranking that D1 Baseball has come out with, has us at 8 overall. So if we can get that offense clicking the way we know it can, then I think we're really good.
Mm-hmm.
USC head baseball coach Mark Kingston with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Gamecocks and Kentucky this weekend at Founders Park. And, Coach, my guess is one of those guys you'd really like to see get out of a slump quickly is Gavin Casas. He's been terrific for you defensively over at first base, but for whatever reason just not swinging it all that well. How do you approach him? How do you get him back to hitting from a guy that we saw last year just tear the cover off the baseball for you?
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Guys have great years. Guys have years where they can't quite find it, and Gavin's in that group of guys that we need to get going. He's been much better this year against lefties and righties, so you could potentially see us match him up and give somebody an opportunity, much like you saw Austin Brindling get an opportunity and really run with it this past weekend. As I've told our team, and as I think I've said at a press conference, I am not going to be scared to try things that I think might spark our team or help our team in the long run. So I think we'll continue to, work with our guys and try to help them be the best they can be. But we're also going to look at the different things that might spark the team or give us a different look or a different chemistry that could potentially get us, that over that last hump that we're trying to get over.
You remind me somewhat of a chemist in a lab because you're right. You've played 18 different position players, have gotten opportunities to get in and play for you this season. Brindling, an interesting story. I think Dalton Reeves, Blake Jackson, some of those guys as well. When those guys have gotten their opportunities, what have you seen that you like from them, starting with a guy like Austin Brindling who's getting a shot here recently?
Yeah, Austin had a great weekend against the best pitching staff in the country last weekend. So for me, that bodes very well that he'll be able to continue to do that for the rest of the season. It's a guy last year that hit 386 with a 500 on base percentage. But I'm sure you guys have heard me tell the story. He came here in the fall and he had a swing flaw that he was able to get away with at the mid-major level. It just was not going to work here, facing guys throwing 93, 94, 95. So he worked hard. He finally kind of fixed it. And we had live at bats last week for guys that needed at bats and innings, in a practice setting. And he just tore the cover off the ball. He had great at bats. And so, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I said, you know what, I'm not going to be afraid to give him a shot. Gave him a shot, and he really took advantage of it. And I think you're going to continue to see that with some guys. What we're looking for is guys to get the opportunity and run with it. Guys have done well and then struggled, So we're looking for the consistency out of guys that get opportunities, because when you find that, then you can stop experimenting.
Mark Kingston with us for a few more moments. Gamecocks taking on Kentucky this weekend at Founders Park. And, Coach, you, like everybody else in the SEC, your team has been extremely good at home. You're one of the few teams that's at 500 or better away from home. Kentucky having the best road record in the conference at 12-2. What is it that makes it so difficult for baseball in particular to win games away from home?
That's a good question. There's so many factors that go into it. Number one, in our league, everybody's really good, and the margin for error and the difference between teams is very small. So when you go play in somebody else's ballpark where most of your team has never been, so many things you have to adjust to. You have to adjust to the grass and how quickly does it play and what are the lights, because these days, even more than ever, you have much different lights in every ballpark. We have the old lights in our park and Founders, but a lot of these stadiums we go to have the brand new modern LED lights, and that's a totally different look for your players. Then you have the crowds that you have to deal with in our league. The crowds are tremendous and really do give a home field advantage wherever you go. You have to get used to how the ball carries in your visitor's park compared to how it does in Founders. So there's a lot of factors that go into why it's hard to play on the road when you factor in that you're generally going to a team usually just as good as you, because we're all really good. I think you combine all those factors, and that makes it a good challenge to win games on the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's not an easy stop anywhere in the SEC. I think we all know that. I wanted to ask you about Dylan Brewer. He started 35 of 36 games, and then against Arkansas, of course, you made the move. What was that like for you, having to go talk to him and tell him what you were going to do, and how has he handled the change?
He's handled it well, and I would let you guys know that you haven't seen the last of Dylan Brewer. Again, I think there's a scenario where we try to play as many speed and athletic guys as we can to maybe, create a little more havoc from that standpoint. As coaches, we've talked about how the home run ball hasn't been quite as kind to us this year as it was last year. You may see a lineup that has a lot of speed and athlete guys in there, and obviously Dylan Brewer is one of those guys for us. He's got double-digit stolen bases. He plays tremendous defense, and so you haven't seen the last of him, and that's what I've told him. I said, he was in a funk, early in the year. He's hitting 400, and then now he's down below 300, and so he's gone into a little bit of a funk, but he's been working hard. He's had a good attitude, and when we put him back in there, I'm hoping he'll be ready.
All right, this Kentucky team that is coming in, they lost a series to Tennessee last weekend, but for the most part, they've been outstanding all season. What impresses you the most about them?
They're just really good across the board. They really don't have any weaknesses. They play really good defense. They hit close to 300. They have 81 stolen bases, which leads the SEC. And their pitching is really good, especially in the bullpen. Their bullpen guys are really good. They've got a lot of guys whose opponent batting averages are below 200. So it's just a team that really doesn't beat themselves. They're opportunistic, and you're going to have to beat them because they're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah, they also get hit by pitches a lot. So you tell your guys what? You pitch inside with these guys, you're possibly going to plunk them because they're going to stand in there and take it?
Yeah, well, that's winning baseball players generally like to do that because they know it can help their team win games. So, we have a phrase in our program, no flinch. When a ball comes in on you, you can get out of the way of it and get a ball, or you can kind of roll away from it as the proper teaching in baseball and wear it is the expression in baseball and take a base out of it. And that helps your team score more runs and win more games. So, much like us, I think they're willing to do that if that's what helps them win a game.
Well, I tell you what, last Friday night against Arkansas, place was packed. That atmosphere was off the charts, and the fans saw a great baseball game. I know it didn't turn out the way they wanted, a 2-1 loss, but still it was a terrific college baseball game. If you get 3 of those against Kentucky, close down to the wire, if you're able to win a couple of them to get on the positive side, that might just be the energizer you need to carry you down the stretch here against a tough slate of games.
Yeah, again, I keep telling our team we're that close. We're that close to being one of the best teams in the country because if we played Vanderbilt, A&M, and Arkansas, all which have been ranked 1 or 2, and we're 5-4 in those games. So, if those are the best teams in the country, we are right there with them. So it's just a matter of getting over that last little hump and winning these series and proving that we can play with and beat anybody in the country because I think we're really close.
We appreciate the time. We'll see you at your press conference tomorrow and then this weekend for the games. Thanks as always, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Coach Mark Kingston, USC Baseball.